Good morning. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today. We have a really big group on our phone bridge eager to hear all about your mission. Reporters calling in, please go ahead and press *1 at this time to enter our question queue. In the meantime, Butch and Sunny, I'll toss it over to you for some opening remarks.
Okay. Well, great, Chelsea. Thank you so much. Welcome aboard the International Space Station first. It's a great place to be, a great place to live, a great place to work. As you can see, the American flag behind us, showing the pride in our nation and what we have been able to do to this point on this mission. I thought I would take a few minutes and talk about the first couple of days of the mission when we were in Starliner. So let's start there. Launch was spectacular. I mean, truly amazing. And then we got into our operational capabilities checks, and the spacecraft performed unbelievably well. We have these things called Hooper-Carper's rating scale, 1 to 10, 1 being the best, 10 being the worst. I've never given a 10 in all my flight test year, a 1 in all my flight test years on a Hooper-Carper rating scale for handling qualities, but I was tempted. That's how precise this spacecraft controlled in all aspects of the various tests we did. I won't go into those details of what the tests were, but it was truly amazing, the precision that this spacecraft held. And then we got into day 2, the start of day 2. It was the same starting off. And then we did have some failures, as we're all aware. We had lost an RCS jet, and then we lost another one. And then you could tell the thrust, the control, the capability was degraded. The handling qualities were not the same. But thankfully, we had practiced and we had gotten certified for manual control. And so we took over manual control for over an hour on the V-bar, the axis where we actually rendezvous with the space station. And for over an hour while the teams on the ground did their troubleshooting, and we got a couple of jets back. And then from that point on, you could tell that the thrust was degraded. At the time, we didn't know why. Obviously, that since the failures had just happened, you could tell it was degraded, but it was still impressive. Let me give you an example. Coming into docking, those final 10 meters, we have a tolerance when we actually connect with the space station of 5 degrees in attitude and about 4 inches in position. And so Starliner came right down in automatic mode at this point and right down the middle, even with the degraded thrusters, which was truly impressive, knowing what we know now and not knowing what we knew, not knowing it then, but what we know now. Truly impressive that even with degraded thrusters, the capability was there to actually dock that precise. And then, of course, we became Expedition 71 crew members. We're fully certified for all aspects of life aboard the space station here. Whether it's spacewalks or operating the over-orbit arm or maintenance, which we've done a lot of. That's part of living here. You have to keep the space station going. And over to Sunny for some of those details.
Yeah, thanks, Butch. I'll just add a couple other things that we did once we got onto the space station. We still had a lot of checks for Starliner, and those all went really well. One of them was practicing for safe haven to make sure that we had all the emergency equipment that's laid out that we need to have to get into our spacecraft and use it as a safe haven in case something happens to the International Space Station. There was also a couple other tests with habitability to make sure that the spacecraft is ready to support 4 people. We grabbed a couple ISS crew members to come in there with us and go through all of the actions, and as well as checked out the ECLSS, the environmental control system, pretty thoroughly throughout all these tests, and it really worked very well. So we are really satisfied with putting more people in the spacecraft once we get back and we work through all the issues that we've found already. I'll just reiterate again, this is a test flight. We were expecting to find some things, and so we are finding stuff, and we're correcting it and making changes, making updates with our control team. Every day we had conferences to go over things that we found or we thought about or we might add for the next flight. Once we got onto the space station, beside for all the Starliner tests, we've been integrated right into Expedition 71, 71 plus as we call it, and we've been doing science for them, maintenance, some major maintenance that has been waiting for a little while, like stuff that's been on the books for a little bit. There's a urine processor pump that we took one good pump out and put into a good body, and it's called Franken pump. That's ready to go in case we have any problems with the urine processing system. Butch and I just did a moderate temperature loop, low temperature loop cooling refill for all the USOS modules. I got to do some gene sequencing. I think you got to do some other science experiments as well with a moon microscope that was 3D printed. So we've been thoroughly busy up here, integrated right into the crew, and every about once a week we get to jump into Starliner and talk to our control team there and work through all the new nuances that they're working very hard on the ground to make sure that we will be able to come home before too long.
Over to you, Chelsea.
That sounds great. Thanks, Butch and Sunny. Let's jump into some questions. We're going to start with Bill Harwood with CBS News.
Butch, given what you just told us in your remarks, based on what you know today, how confident are you that the Starliner will get you home safely, given the known helium leaks and the earlier thruster issues? And as test pilots, are you satisfied you have a workable backup procedures in place if the normal deorbit plan cannot be executed for some reason? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question, Bill, obviously. Yes, I'll say yes to all of those questions. We're absolutely confident. We've already, as Sonny mentioned, for Safe Haven, we had that test, not just the test, but also to do it for real when we had that possible conjunction a few weeks ago. And we got in Starliner, we were ready to go. Everything's in place as far as what we know now. That is a good point. We are actually doing thruster testing as we speak at White Sands, New Mexico, going through that process, trying to replicate what we saw on that flight day 2 when we were rendezvousing, and we're going to learn from that, and we're going to incorporate new processes, new procedures that we will employ if necessary. So obviously right now we are ready. We will be ready then unless the data shows otherwise, but right now, based on what we know, we are absolutely ready.
Our next question is from Marcia Dunn with the Associated Press.
Do you have any qualms whatsoever about returning in the Starliner yourself? Why or why not?
You know, Marcia, we've been through a lot of simulations for this spacecraft to, go through all sorts of iterations of failures. And I think where we are right now and what we know right now and how the spacecraft flew as it was coming in to do the docking as Butch described, I feel confident that if there was a problem with the International Space Station, we can get in our spacecraft and we can undock, talk to our team, and figure out the best way to come home. Like I said, we've practiced a lot, so I have a feeling, I have a real good feeling in my heart that the spacecraft will bring us home, no problem. But like Butch said, we're learning now to optimize our specific situation and make sure that we know everything about it. If we just came home, we'd lose the SM, and then we wouldn't be able to go through all this testing and understand about our spacecraft. I envision that we'll still do testing when we undock and before we undock, actually, first to open the helium valves, and then secondly, once we undock, to make sure everything is working correctly as it's planned from what they found out during the thruster testing. So I have confidence, Butch has confidence. We're here on the space station with our safe haven of Starliner.
And I will add this, that we were able to rendezvous and dock because of the team effort. Guys like Dean Lenort and our propulsion officer and Ed Van Sice, our flight director, and the team on the ground is working together. What we did, taking over manual control while they assessed the situation and coming to the conclusion that we could re-enable those RCS jets that had failed and then get us here safely, as I said, with the precision still there with some degraded thrusters. And we feel confident that this team will do the same on the way home.
We'll now go to Gina Sinceri with ABC News.
What did this hurricane look like from the space station, and how are your homes doing down here? Is everyone okay? Lost power? Tell me about that.
Yes, the hurricane is quite impressive. And I don't think many people know this, but I actually took a picture of a storm that was off the west coast of Africa about a week and a half before the hurricane impacted, and I'm about 98% sure that was the one that became Beryl. 4 days later, it was hurricane strength. I took some video of it, set it down. I don't know if the Weather Channel showed it or not, but showed it, and it was, like I said, very impressive. We got some pictures a couple of days later, and as it was very fortunate, the hurricane did slow down in its intensity, as you know, and I think all of our families are doing well. We've got down trees like most people, but thankfully we've got good church folks and good neighbors that are coming by and helping us out clean up.
Yeah, I'll add just an interesting aspect of it. When it was really strong, we were able to take pictures of the eye and actually see the definition of the eye. And Butch and I were up in the cupola the other day, right as it was getting ready to hit the Texas coast, and you could see it had dispersed. The clouds had dispersed, but it was still very circular and still very huge. So we were praying for our friends down there in Mission Control and all of our family and friends in the Houston area, hoping everybody will be okay. And yep, power is lost, trees are down, but we're a big team. Everybody pulls together in Texas.
That's right, Sunny. We're going to go now to Tom Costello. We don't have a lot of time left, but Tom, if you want to go ahead with your question, we'll make it a quick one.
It's understanding and appreciating everything you've said about the performance of Starliner. It is still billions of dollars over budget, years behind schedule. It seems it's been snake bit at every turn. Are you confident in the performance of the ship for future missions as well?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I can tell you that this is the world of test. This is a tough business that we're in. Human spaceflight is not easy in any regime. And there have been multiple issues with every spacecraft that's ever been designed, and that's the nature of what we do. That mantra you've heard, failure is not an option. That's why we are staying here now. We did have some degradation and our thrusters, and we know that, and that's why we're staying, because we're going to test it. That's what we do. That's what we do in this business. We're going to get the data that we need to help inform our decisions so we make the right decisions, and that's why we feel confident. We've got a history of doing that going back decades in human spaceflight, and that gives us confidence now that it will continue. We are very close and friends with those that are making these decisions, and we trust them. We trust their integrity. We trust their technical acumen, and we trust that the tests that we're doing are the ones that we need to do to get the right answers, to give us the data that we need to come back.
Butch and Sunny, thanks so much for taking the time. We're excited to talk to you again shortly before you come home. Have a great rest of your mission.
Station, this is Houston ACR. Thank you. That concludes our event.